Good morning, everybody. Good afternoon, depending on where you are tuning in from. Welcome to another episode of QRA Live with me, your host, Jimmy Yen. I'm going to start off by getting the chat ready so I can see everybody that inputs their chat. Okay, I've got the chat going on. So, all right, I'll give a few minutes for people to start typing in what they need help with. So, for those of y'all new to QRA Live, this is an opportunity for you to ask me any questions you have or about your health concern, something you're struggling with, something that's a chronic health concern. If you want me to share a QRA, a quick restorative acupressure, I will share that with you. If you want me to share the process, let's say you've gone to multiple physicians, you've gone to other acupuncturists, you've gone to chiropractors, and yet you're still not getting the results that you want, then I can help you navigate where to go and what's the process. Good morning, Sharon. I'm doing great. How are you? Thank you for joining in. I do need to give a disclaimer for YouTube and Google. I am not a physician, so I was not trained to prescribe medication and do surgery. So anything that I say is not medical advice for you. It is just purely my team's experience, my experience of when I was treating patients, what my team is currently doing for our current patients right now. That's just to share the testimony and also share what we are doing if you were a patient in our clinic, but it is not to dispense medical advice. Okay. What I was trained in doing, what I was trained in, and what my team is trained in is traditional Chinese medicine, which has been around for 3,000 years. And through that, I've developed some new techniques that only my clinic uses, like quick restorative acupressure, quick restorative acupuncture, and also functional pulse diagnosis. No other clinic in the world uses it because I was the inventor of it. Only my team does it. So things that I share with you are going to sound different. It may appear different, and that is the reason why. And that is intentional because we don't do what other acupuncturists do. We don't do what other Chinese medicine practitioners do. We don't, because when I started off practicing, I found out that what we learned in school, and probably what we learned in school, it didn't get the greatest results. And I think that could be the same for everybody's experience, right? No matter what profession you are. Okay, so type into the chat. I already got Sharon asking, I'm still working with the stiff knees. Okay. Has it been working? Has it improved? So stiff knees, one thing with the stiff knees is you could have stiff knees because of osteoarthritis or rheumatoid arthritis, which is any type of arthritis in your knees. I'd like acupressure for, what do you think? I'm on the East Coast, otherwise I would come to you immediately. Okay, you want some quick restorative acupressure. So I'll share with what I've shared. I think I shared with you last time, but just I'll refresh the memory. For stiff knees, if it's due to the joint, right? So you can have stiff knees, like, and I'm going to describe it as you get up, you're sitting for a long time, and you stand up, and your knees are like, I can't stretch them, I can't get them straight, right? They feel that stiff. So that's a typical situation. Well, it could be a bone problem, it could be a ligament and tendon problem, right? So let's start with the bone. If it's a bone problem, like your space in between your bones, the space between your knee joint should be like this, but it's compressed, right? That could be one cause of why when you stand up and you're walking and they get stiff. They're stiff first, and then you walk, and then you walk, and then they get looser. You've been using the hand points. Okay. Have you been using the finger points? Right? My QRA finger points. So pinching on the joints of your fingers, right? Now, let me preface this. If your joint space, which is normally should be like this, and it's bone on bone, any QRA I show you will be temporary relief. Maybe only a few seconds, because the problem will be bone on bone. Okay. You are bone on bone. Yeah. So if you are bone on bone, the QRA isn't going to help much, because every time you get up and you stand up, your bone is rubbing bone on bone. Okay. And what happens is, what you'll notice is, as you walk more and more, the bones rub and rub, and it generates inflammation. Inflammation is fluid. So inflammation temporarily creates a little space in between your knee joints, right? That's why after you walk for a longer time, it starts to get looser, and it starts to get better. But then you notice, here's the other problem. But then you notice, if you walk too long, the knee pain and the knee stiffness starts to get worse. Okay. So not sure. Well, you need to definitely get some x-rays of your knee. At minimum, you need to get x-rays of your knees, right? This is a huge problem with if you feel stiffness. Now, if the stiffness is from tendons and ligaments, okay, so the tendons and ligaments around your knee, they're tight, right? They're not elastic, right? Then I want you to do, here's another QRA. Go with your elbow. Elbows are great for knees, okay? So I'm going to show you so here's my elbow, and this would be my kneecap, okay? So this is my kneecap. So inside, just like the knee, I have two bones, or actually, it's exactly like the leg, right? You have one bone right here, and then you have two bones down here, right? And so it's very similar. So what you're going to do is you're going to press around the elbow, right? Let me use this arm. You're going to press around the elbow, inside, around, okay? You're going to press around the elbow, and you're going to first find a bone. First find the bone. Push on the bone, okay? And actually, before you even do this, I want you to be sitting down, and I want you to extend your knee and see if you hear any clicking, crunching, stiffness. If you feel any stiffness already, okay? If you do, then get to your elbow, find the bone, and press hard. Press hard, and then extend your knee again. Extend your knee and try it out and see if it gets looser, right? When it gets looser, then stand up and walk. Your knee should be looser. Okay. Now, if this is only a tendon and ligament problem, you don't have bone on bone. If you have bone on bone, for those of y'all just tuning in, if you have bone on bone, this will only help for a few seconds, and then the stiffness and pain will come right back. Okay. So coming back to the elbow, you can come to the inside of the elbow. You can come to the outside of the elbow. You can go inside here, the elbow, right? So if it's a tendon problem, there's a lot of tendons. Like, find a sensitive tendon in your elbow and press on it for 10 seconds, okay? And then extend your knee while you're sitting, right? Exercise it. One elbow doesn't work, you got another elbow. Use the other elbow, okay? The other elbow, same thing. Find a tendon and you can find the tendon, and you can almost like move the tendon, right? So find the tendon. Oh, like mine really sore here. So find the tendon and massage around it, even the muscles, okay? Because you've got muscles around your knees. So give that a try. Now, remember, just be seated first. Sit down first. Extend your knee, okay? Extend your knee and test it out first. And then do my QRA on your elbow and extend your knee. Don't stand up until you feel like your knee is loosening up. Okay, so give that a try. Yeah, tenderness on your elbow. Yeah, it will be tender on your elbow, right? If you've got knee problems. But you need to get an x-ray. You can't just rely upon my QRA, because if it's bone on bone, so everything that we do, that my team does in our clinic, we don't fix everything. Okay. Sometimes the body, you have damaged it, we as humans, we tend to, especially when we're younger. When we're younger, we did things that damage our body that when we get older, and when I say older, I'm not even talking about 80s. I'm talking about 40s and 50s. Things we did in our 20s, in our 40s and 50s, we are paying the consequence. We're paying the price of neglect, right? Of what we did in our 20s, or maybe even our teens, 20s and 30s. So that is a fact. So you have to see what damage has been done. This is where Western medicine imaging is phenomenal. I love imaging. MRIs. MRI would be even the best, right? But at minimum, get a CT. Here in the US, to get an X-ray is super cheap, right? I think it's less than $10, or maybe even $10 or $50 on the 20th. Awesome. Perfect. Great job, Sharon. Okay, so keep me updated next week. Once you get the X-ray, let me know next week what the X-ray shows. Okay. All right. Laura, thank you for joining in again. You talked last week on dry eyes. I'm dealing with watery eyes. Okay. So watery eyes, actually it's similar. There are similar causes. One thing of watery eyes is one cause of watery eyes. So we have what's called lacrimal ducts, basically tear ducts. The tear ducts go from our eyes down into our nose. That's why if you ever notice, if you have ever noticed that when you're watching a sad movie and you're crying and you you end up crying, and then when you're crying, you notice that you have a lot of discharge in your nose. It's because when you're crying, the tears are supposed to go into your nose through a duct called the tear duct, or it's called lacrimal duct. When that duct gets blocked, then you will have watery eyes. That's one reason. Why would that tear duct get blocked, right? Inflammation. Then you gotta work your way backwards. I call this reverse engineer. So watery eyes, tear ducts may be blocked. So instead of the tears going down your nose, they're just coming out of the side, right? And so then you got to think, reverse engineer. Why is my tear ducts blocked? It's inflamed. Then you got to go, why is it inflamed? There's many things that can cause your tear ducts to get inflamed. One of the things is allergies, right? You are allergic to something. That's why some people with allergies, they have itchy eyes and watery eyes, or runny nose, because the body is secreting something in response. All right. Here's another thing that you may not know. That may sound weird. You may have an autoimmune condition. Okay. Yes, autoimmune condition that causes dry eyes, but first you get watery eyes before you experience dry eyes, right? But either way, either it's an autoimmune condition, it's inflammation in your eyes. That is the reason. And Laura, same thing last week. And actually, I'm gonna free two birds with one key. Okay. And so like Sharon has knee problems, and I was just talking about the elbows. But guess what? The elbows also help with the eyes. So you can do exact same thing. Now, the only difference is you're not going to find the bone because your eyeball is not bone. Your eyeball is fluidy and squishy. So you're going to find what's fluidy and squishy on your elbow, right? So you got a lot of fluidy and squishy parts. So it depends on when you have watery eyes. Are your watery eyes constant, or are your watery eyes only when you walk outside? Do you have watery eyes when you're indoors, right? If you have watery eyes when you're indoors, then you'll probably have watery eyes when you're outside, right? But if you only have watery eyes when you're outside, most likely it's outside. It's pollen or something that you're allergic to outside. Indoors could also be. You could be allergic to mold. People have mold in their house and they don't even realize that. So you're going to find the squishy parts of your elbow, okay? Squishy parts of your elbow, and you're going to massage there, right? You're going to massage there, and you're going to see if that watery eyes starts to drain down your nose. It's not going to stop it's not going to stop your eyes from producing tears. What we want to do is to decrease inflammation so that your tears drain through your nose, not just come out of your eyes, if that makes any sense. Okay. So if one elbow doesn't work, try the other elbow. If elbows don't work, you can try knees. Okay. You can try knees, elbows and knees. Knees are also good for your eyes. There's actually, I'm going to switch the terminology. Okay. So normally my QRA, I'm talking about QRA, quick restorative acupressure. Okay. Yeah, it's probably allergies. Yeah. So it is different from acupressure. I'm going to share with you, this is acupressure. See, when I'm going to share with you acupressure, then I will say acupressure. Otherwise, it's always QRA. So acupressure, if you look at your knees, okay, the knees, there's 2 points. It's called the eyes of the knees. This is acupressure because these are acupuncture points. And they're right here. They're on the sides of the patella ligament. So here's my patella, here's my patellar ligament. To the sides of the patellar ligament, when you bend your knees, not all the way, but just like halfway bend it, you will feel there's 2 indentions beside the patellar ligament. Okay. Those two, those two are acupuncture points. So they're called the eyes of the knees. Eyes of the knees. So guess what? It helps the eyes. So you could press there too. But only if it's sensitive. If it's not sensitive, it's not going to work. Okay. So here's the thing. Here now I'm going to switch to QRA, quick restorative acupressure. Quick restorative acupressure is not any points, so to speak. You're going to go all around your knees for the squishy part. Now, the knees have a lot of bone, right? So it's not a lot of squishy parts, but you're going to find all around your knee. You can even go to the top. You can even go to the top of the knee where you'll find the squishy parts. Even down here, right? Even up here, find these squishy parts, and you're going to, like mine's tender right here. Push really hard, okay? Push really hard and massage it. And then see if your tears start to drain in your nose, right? If it doesn't, or it might decrease the production of tears. If it doesn't, find another spot on this knee or go to the other knee, okay? So these are QRA. So if it's allergies, you got to fix what I talked about last time. Last time, when I was talking about autoimmune conditions, right? Autoimmune conditions is an allergy problem. It started off with allergies, then developed into autoimmune. So if you want to fix allergies, no, you don't have to move. Okay. I've had patients tell me before they just need to move to a different place. Well, yes, if when you move to a different place, and this is what people will notice. Their allergies temporarily will be better. Maybe for the next 5 years, they will be better. But this is what they'll notice. After 5 years, they will develop new allergies to that new environment. Why? Because they didn't fix the problem. The problem is your immune system, right? The immune system. And what causes what? Again, we're reverse engineering. Watery eyes, inflammation caused it. Okay. What caused inflammation? Allergies. What caused your allergies? Immune system imbalance. What caused your immune system to be imbalanced, right? Bacteria flora is imbalanced. What caused your bacteria flora to be imbalanced? Your diet and your lifestyle. So it always comes back to diet and lifestyle. If you don't fix that, you will always forever have allergies. Okay. Even if you take some antihistamines, that just still doesn't solve the problem. Even with my QRA, it still doesn't solve the problem because you didn't fix your allergy problem. So if allergy problems, I would say 99% of them come from our lifestyle, what we eat, how we sleep, the things that we do in our life. So from food wise, this is what you can start off by doing. Start off by decreasing dairy products. Dairy products are milk, cheese, yogurt, ice cream, butter, anything made from cow's milk, even goat's milk, even yogurt. Okay, everything. Stop dairy for 2 weeks. Right? I do this a lot with our patients. I tell them, And this will tell us if you are, because every time I ask people, hey, do you eat a lot of dairy? Everybody says no. Okay. And then I tell them to stop dairy products. And if they actually do it, 100% stop it, right? If you stop dairy products 100% and you've been eating a lot of dairy, you will see your allergy symptoms improve significantly, at least by 50%. Especially kids, right? Especially kids also with autism, you need to get them off dairy. Those are all immune system irritants. Okay. So I do one thing at a time, get off of dairy and see if that helps. Then people who love dairy, they're like, can I eat dairy? It's your choice. Okay. If you want allergies for the rest of your life, continue to eat dairy. Right. After dairy, then you want to get off like caffeine, stimulants, things that stimulate your body. You don't need things that irritate and stimulate your body if you have allergies. All right. Because everything outside is irritating you and stimulating you. So you want to get off of stimulants temporarily, right? I'm not saying you have to get off of caffeine for the rest of your life. For those of you who need your coffee every single day, right? But I'm doing this to show you what is irritating your immune system so that you have the knowledge. So when your watery eyes, your allergies are severe, you know, hey, I need to change my diet, right? And if I really want to fix it, I need to change my diet permanently, right? So also sleep. If you're not sleeping, your immune system is not healing. So if you don't give your immune system enough time to heal, of course, you're going to have allergy problems because your immune system is always, you're telling your immune system every time you do not sleep 8 hours every day. Okay. Every time you do not sleep 8 hours every day, you are telling your immune system to work an extra hour. So let's imagine you are working and you work, and let's say whatever many hours is your limit. After that, you just get fatigued, right? Well, what if your boss told you, hey, do one more extra hour? Every week, he tells you, do one more, or she tells you, one more extra hour. And then you just, eventually, your body starts to break down, right? That's the same thing when you refuse to block off time to sleep 8 hours every day. That's what you're telling your immune system. You're saying, hey, immune system, work one more hour, just one more hour. Or maybe you you believe in the myth that 6 hours is enough. Then you say, hey, immune system, just work 2 more hours every week, every day, 2 more hours. You don't need 8 hours, just 6 hours. Imagine what's going to happen in your immune system over time, right? When we're young, it doesn't matter because we rebound fast, right? And then if you take a lot of caffeine, you drink a lot of coffee in the morning, you feel like, oh, I have enough energy. You take away those caffeine, you realize you have no energy, right? So sleep absolutely affects your immune system, and it can destroy your immune system. And people are always looking for research to prove that they don't need 8 hours. And I'll end with this, so I don't see any more chronic health conditions people want me to help with. Research. There was, I was going to do a post about this, but there was a research by, I think it was by Northwestern University, and they found out that many of the scientific research, were fabricated, right? I love research. My bachelor's at UT Austin was in biochemistry. I've done research. I love research, but today research has been so manipulated by these pharmaceutical companies specifically because they want you to take more meds, right? And so I don't always trust research. Okay. But these days, we, the people, control that. See, the problem with what the public is doing right now is we are looking for research to prove that bad habits don't affect our health, that sleeping less than 8 hours, I think I heard a research, there's like, you only need 4 hours of sleep every day, right? And so that's just crazy. But we can't believe into those research. Just because we know deep inside bad habits, like the carnivore diet, that eating animal protein, excessive amount of animal protein is not good for your health long term. It's been proven. Oh, there's been research already done, but people who love to eat animal protein, they are looking for current research, and they will use current research to refute what my statement of saying carnivore diet is terrible for your body, right? So we can either believe research that have withstood the test of time. So here's the thing. How do you know which research is good? The research that has withstood the test of time. So that has been for 50 years, it has not changed. Or maybe for 3,000 years, it still has not changed, right? And don't look for research that has been done only in a laboratory. That's in a controlled environment. That's in what's called a vacuum. That's like, they used to have, when I was at UT, they used to have these companies, pharmaceutical companies that would pay students, right? They would promote this in our campus. We as students can go into these pharmaceutical research labs. We could live there. They have certain research. Some of the research you live there for 1 day. Some of the research you live there for 1 week and for 1 month. And they would pay us, right? They would pay us to take their medication. So what do you think the results would be, right? So it's manipulated. So that's what I'm saying. It's don't. We would be living in a room. I didn't do any of those. Some of my friends did those because they needed money. They would pay us $500 a day, right? And so they would go there, live in a room, a controlled environment, get blood tests. They have all these things hooked up to them. Here's the type of, I don't believe in that type of research because that's not real life. I believe in the research like the blue zones. The blue zones, real life people living in their own home, in their own habitat, and they've been observed for hundreds of years, right? And people, because they've lived over 100, and people, that is real life research. I believe in real life research. People that are actually doing it, not in a laboratory. Okay. All right. Okay. So Anna put in one more QRA for sinus pressure, please. Sinus pressure, sinus, right? Sinuses, you have sinuses here above your eyes. You have sinuses in your nose behind, actually, ethmoid sinuses right behind your nose, and you have these sinuses here, right? You see, they're all revolved around this area, the nose and your eyes, right? So using what I just shared with Sharon and also Laura, that the elbows are the eye level. If the elbows are the eye level, so eye level, right? Above the eye, you have sinuses up here. Below the eye, you have sinuses down here. So here, if the elbow is the eye, above the eye, so into the biceps, right? I would find a QRA up here, okay? Below the eye is down here. See, down here. So anything of this, and anything here. Now sinuses what? They're like holes, right? In bones. So I want to find a bone area. So you have a bone up here and you have two bones down here. So I would find near the bone area to find a tender spot, right? So you could press and massage. And what I'm looking for with QRA, because when we do QRA acupuncture in our clinic, I put the acupuncture pins in this exact area where I'm showing you the patient's sinuses. What I'm looking for, instant drainage. It just starts to drain. Like they feel like, oh, it's draining in the back of my throat. Okay. That's when I know I hit the right point. Okay. So same with you. When when you find the right point, you'll start to notice, oh, my sinuses are clearing up a little. Okay. It may not clear up 100%, but you'll notice you can breathe better. If you find a point that instantly unlocks it, stay on that point, right? Just maybe go an inch in diameter around that point and find another tender spot, but that's the magic spot. Okay. And if after that, let's say it clears up 50% of your sinuses. Okay. Go to your next arm, your other arm, same spot, wherever spot you found in this arm, go to the same spot in that area and press, right? It should still work also. right? Okay, so give that a try. Awesome. Sharon, I haven't gotten to pig's feet yet, but I'm kind of confused about them. Like, since the bones can't be chewed, is it in the broth that the collagen? Yes. Sharon, it's in the broth. It's in the bone marrow. Okay. You eat the pig's feet for the tendons and ligaments, the gelatin. That's for the tendons and ligaments. But the bone marrow, you have to cook the pig's feet. You make a soup. So you get bone marrow from a soup because you have to cook the bone marrow, the bone, to extract the bone marrow. That's what you're drinking is the bone marrow. Okay. And that's what helps your bones. All right, guys. Thank you for tuning in. Appreciate it. If you haven't followed, subscribe to our channel. Please make sure you subscribe to our channel. If you have friends and family that need to hear this information, they're suffering from chronic health conditions. I do this every Sunday. Okay. Every Sunday, 5 p.m. Central Standard Time, 6 a.m. Taiwan time, and I will be here next Sunday. Show up on time so that you can get help and type into the chat sooner so I can go over the chronic health condition that you need help with. All right, guys. See you. Have a great Sunday. For me, it's Monday. Those of you who are Monday, have a great Monday. I'll see you next week. Okay, bye-bye.